Let's talk about how avoiding negative habits can significantly enhance your well-being and align with your journey toward a more fulfilling life. Understanding and steering clear of these detrimental factors is not just about avoiding discomfort. It's about actively choosing a path that supports your mental, emotional, and spiritual health. This isn't merely about awareness, but about taking practical steps to improve your overall quality of life. From personal experience, I've learned that acknowledging and addressing negative influences can lead to profound improvements in one's well-being. When I first began to identify and eliminate these influences, I noticed a remarkable shift not only in how I felt daily, but in how I approached my life's challenges and opportunities. It was as if a weight had been lifted, allowing me to embrace a more positive and resilient mindset.
Let's explore 15
key negative influences you should avoid for better well-being. We'll blend insights from biblical wisdom, different wisdom traditions with real-life examples to show how you can embody these principles in your daily life. Before we continue, please consider subscribing to this channel and turning on the notification button. Your support helps us bring more valuable content and insights to enrich your journey. So, grab your favorite beverage, get comfortable, and let's embark on this transformative journey together. Ready to elevate your emotional well-being and become your best self? Let's get started. Number 1. Toxic relationship. Navigating toxic relationships is crucial for maintaining emotional well-being and personal growth. Several years ago, I found myself deeply entangled in such a relationship. What started as minor disagreements and occasional criticisms gradually escalated into a pattern of controlling behavior and relentless criticism. The negativity became overwhelming, leaving me feeling emotionally drained and questioning my self-worth. During a particularly intense moment, when a simple gathering turned into a heated argument over trivial matters, I realized the extent of the impact this relationship was having on me. The friend's need to belittle my decisions and undermine my choices made the situation unbearable. This experience pushed me to seek guidance through scripture and reflection. In my moments of prayer, I found solace in Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. This verse emphasized the importance of surrounding myself with individuals who contribute positively to my growth rather than those who bring negativity. Additionally, reflecting on traditional wisdom, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it, helped me understand that staying in a toxic relationship was not only harming my emotional health, but also misallocating my valuable time and energy. With this insight, I decided to confront the toxic dynamic directly. I initiated a candid conversation with my friend, expressing how their behavior was affecting me. Although the discussion was challenging and emotionally charged, it was necessary to set clear boundaries and communicate my feelings. Despite my efforts, the toxicity persisted, leading me to distance myself from the relationship. I then focused on surrounding myself with positive, supportive individuals who uplifted and encouraged me. This shift involved not just distancing myself from the toxic relationship, but actively investing in connections that nurtured my growth and well-being. To tackle with toxic relationship, begin by recognizing the impact of toxic relationships and addressing them. Set and maintain clear boundaries in order for protecting one's emotional health. Seek support from friends, family, or professionals. Provide valuable perspectives and assistance in navigating these challenges. Prioritize relationships that positively contribute to your life and embrace change with courage are crucial steps for personal growth. By taking these actions, I was able to create a more positive and supportive environment, allowing me to focus on nurturing relationships that aligned with my values and fostered my growth. This process reinforced the understanding that toxic relationships often stem from deeper issues of control and negativity. Addressing these patterns and making deliberate choices to protect oneself opens the door to healthier interactions and a more fulfilling life. Number 2, self-criticism. Dealing with self-criticism is essential for personal growth and maintaining a positive sense of self. Reflecting on a period in my life when self-criticism was prevalent, I realized how it began as an internal dialogue of doubt and self-reproach. Initially, it was just small doubts about my abilities and decisions, but over time, these thoughts intensified, leading to a persistent inner critic that overshadowed my achievements and potential. The turning point came during a time of reflection and introspection. I found myself overwhelmed by the constant barrage of negative self-talk, which undermined my confidence and well-being. This inner critic frequently magnified my mistakes and downplayed my successes, leaving me feeling inadequate and discouraged. Seeking a way to manage this self-criticism, I turned to spiritual and philosophical guidance. One significant moment of clarity came from Psalm 139:14. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. This verse reminded me of my inherent worth and the importance of self-acceptance. It helped me understand that self-worth is not defined by perfection, but by embracing my unique qualities and growth. In addition, I reflected on traditional wisdom. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This insight highlighted that self-criticism stems from the way we interpret and judge our experiences. By focusing on cultivating positive and constructive thoughts, I began to shift my internal dialogue toward a more supportive and encouraging tone. To address self-criticism, firstly acknowledge the detrimental impact of these negative thoughts on your well-being. Begin to challenge these thoughts by questioning their validity and replacing them with affirmations of your strengths and accomplishments. Set realistic expectations and recognizing your progress rather than fixating on perceived failures. Additionally, sought support through counseling and conversations with trusted friends and mentors. Their perspectives would provide valuable insights and encouragement, helping you to see yourself more objectively and positively. Prioritizing self-compassion and practicing mindfulness would contribute to a healthier self-view. Through this journey, I learned that overcoming self-criticism involves recognizing its impact, challenging negative thoughts, and replacing them with affirmations of self-worth. By embracing a balanced view of oneself and seeking support from others, I was able to foster a more positive and resilient sense of self. This process reinforced the understanding that self-criticism often arises from internalized doubts and unrealistic standards. Addressing these patterns and practicing self-compassion opens the path to a more fulfilling and confident life. Number 3, negative media consumption. In today's hyper-connected world, it is incredibly easy to find oneself overwhelmed by the constant influx of news, social media updates, and other forms of digital content. This relentless exposure can subtly but powerfully affect one's mood, mental health, and outlook on life. Managing media consumption effectively is crucial to maintaining emotional well-being, clarity of thought, and a positive perspective. This process involves evaluating the types and sources of media one engages with, setting clear boundaries, and prioritizing content that fosters positivity and growth. Imagine waking up each day and reaching for your phone to check the latest news, only to be confronted by a barrage of negative headlines, controversial social media debates, and distressing global events. With each scroll, the weight of the world feels heavier and a sense of anxiety begins to build. By the time you start your day, you may already feel overwhelmed, mentally drained, and disconnected from the more meaningful aspects of your life. This is not an uncommon experience. Many people unknowingly fall into the trap of excessive media consumption, driven by the desire to stay informed. However, this habit often leads to an unhealthy cycle of anxiety and distress, making it harder to focus on personal and professional priorities. Addressing this issue is not just about reducing screen time, but about consciously choosing the kind of content that aligns with your values and contributes to your mental and emotional health. Several years ago, I faced a moment in my life where I realized the extent of my media consumption's impact on my well-being. Every day, I spent hours consuming news articles, videos, and social media posts. I thought staying updated on world events was important, but I gradually noticed that I was becoming more anxious, pessimistic, and easily irritable. Despite my efforts to stay informed, I found myself feeling drained and disconnected from my daily life. One day, after feeling particularly overwhelmed by the negative news, I decided to take a step back and assess my habits. I discovered that my constant exposure to distressing content was taking a toll on my mental health and affecting my relationships and productivity. It became clear that I needed to make a change to regain my peace of mind and emotional balance. Determined to regain control over my media consumption, I began by evaluating the types of content I was engaging with daily. I took stock of all the news sources, social media accounts, and other media platforms I followed. I realized that much of the content I was consuming was negative, sensationalized, or fear-driven, and did not add meaningful value to my life. Inspired by the traditional wisdom, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, I decided to prioritize media that contributed positively to my mindset. I started unfollowing accounts and news sources that thrived on sensationalism and instead followed those that offered balanced perspectives, uplifting stories, and constructive discussions. I also turned to spiritual guidance, recalling the biblical verse Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. This verse reminded me to focus on content that uplifts, inspires, and contributes to my overall well-being. In addition, I established boundaries around my media consumption. I limited my news checking to specific times of the day and made it a point to engage in activities that nourished my mind and soul, such as reading, prayer, and spending time with loved ones. I found that replacing screen time with more fulfilling activities helped to restore my peace and provided a much-needed mental reset. This journey of reducing negative media consumption was not without its challenges. At times, I felt the urge to check for updates or follow a breaking story, but I reminded myself of the importance of maintaining a balanced and positive mindset. Each time I chose to engage in a more uplifting activity, I felt a renewed sense of calm and clarity. Through this process, I learned valuable lessons about the power of intentional media consumption. I realized that while staying informed is important, it should not come at the cost of my mental and emotional well-being. By consciously choosing what I allow into my mind, I have the power to shape my thoughts, emotions, and overall outlook on life. In practical terms, reducing negative media consumption involves several key steps. Begin by assessing your current habits and identifying the types of content that affect your mood negatively. Unfollow or mute sources that contribute to anxiety, stress, or fear. Set clear boundaries around when and how you consume media, such as designating specific times for checking the news. Replace negative media consumption with more uplifting activities like reading positive literature, spending time with loved ones, or engaging in creative hobbies. Regularly reassess your media consumption habits to ensure they align with your values and contribute to your overall well-being. Seek support from friends, mentors, or faith-based communities to stay accountable and encouraged in this journey. By applying these principles, you can transform your approach to media consumption, fostering a more positive and resilient mindset. Remember, this is not a one-time effort, but an ongoing practice that requires mindfulness and intention. By choosing what you consume with care, you can cultivate a healthier, more balanced, and fulfilling life. Number 4. Perfectionism. In a world that often celebrates flawlessness, many find themselves trapped in the relentless pursuit of perfection. While striving for excellence can be a healthy motivator, perfectionism is an entirely different beast. It can create a sense of dissatisfaction, anxiety, and a paralyzing fear of failure. Managing perfectionism effectively is crucial for fostering creativity, embracing growth, and achieving a balanced and fulfilling life. This process involves recognizing the signs of perfectionism, challenging unrealistic standards, and prioritizing progress over perfection. Imagine embarking on a new project at work or home, filled with enthusiasm and high expectations. As you dive into the task, you find yourself revisiting details repeatedly, convinced that there's always something to improve. Hours turn into days, and yet completion remains out of reach. The constant need to perfect every aspect leaves you feeling drained and dissatisfied, even when others praise your efforts. This is the hidden cost of perfectionism. Despite working tirelessly, you often feel as if you haven't achieved anything meaningful. Many people experience this struggle, finding themselves caught in a cycle of overthinking and self-criticism. The desire for perfection can lead to procrastination, burnout, and a fear of taking risks, ultimately hindering personal and professional growth. Addressing perfectionism is not just about lowering your standards. It's about adopting a healthier mindset that allows for mistakes, embraces learning, and celebrates progress, no matter how small. Several years ago, I faced a pivotal moment in my personal and professional life that highlighted the toll of perfectionism. As someone who prided myself on attention to detail, I often went above and beyond to ensure that everything I produced was flawless. Whether at work or in my personal projects, I spent countless hours refining, tweaking, and polishing, convinced that perfection was the only acceptable standard. However, despite my efforts, I frequently felt anxious and dissatisfied. I found it hard to enjoy the process because I was always focused on what could be improved. One day, after spending an entire weekend reworking a presentation, only to feel more stressed than ever, I realized I needed to confront my perfectionist tendencies. Determined to break free from the grip of perfectionism, I started by acknowledging its impact on my well-being and productivity. I took a step back and reflected on my mindset and habits. I realized that my perfectionism stemmed from a fear of failure and a desire to be seen as competent and capable in every aspect of my life. Inspired by the philosophical wisdom, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," I decided to challenge my fears and the unrealistic standards I had set for myself. I began to question the belief that everything had to be perfect and allowed myself to embrace imperfection as a natural part of growth. I reminded myself that mistakes and failures are not only inevitable, but also valuable opportunities for learning and self-improvement.
I also turned to biblical wisdom for guidance. Ecclesiastes 7:20 states, "Indeed, there is no one on earth who is righteous, no one who does what is right and never sins." This verse reminded me that perfection is unattainable and that striving for it only leads to frustration and discontent. Instead, I chose to focus on doing my best with the gifts and talents God had given me, trusting that this was enough. To further combat my perfectionist tendencies, I began setting more realistic goals and time limits for tasks. I prioritized progress over perfection, celebrating small wins and incremental improvements rather than waiting for flawless outcomes. I started to view mistakes as learning opportunities rather than failures, and reminded myself that excellence is not the same as perfection. The journey to overcoming perfectionism was not without its challenges. There were moments when I felt tempted to revert to my old ways, doubting whether good enough was truly good enough. However, with time, I learned to let go of the need for external validation and began to appreciate the value of embracing imperfection. Each step toward this new mindset brought a sense of freedom and fulfillment I hadn't felt in years. In practical terms, overcoming perfectionism involves several key steps. Start by recognizing the signs of perfectionism, such as excessive self-criticism, procrastination, or difficulty completing tasks. Challenge your perfectionist thoughts by questioning their validity and replacing them with more balanced perspectives. For example, instead of thinking, "If it's not perfect, I've failed," consider, "Doing my best is more important than achieving perfection." Set realistic goals and break tasks into smaller, manageable steps. This approach helps you focus on progress rather than perfection and reduces feelings of overwhelm. Practice self-compassion by acknowledging that everyone makes mistakes and that imperfection is a natural part of the human experience. Regularly reflect on your progress and celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. This practice helps reinforce a healthier mindset and encourages continued growth. Seek support from friends, mentors, or faith-based communities who understand your struggles and can offer encouragement and guidance. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift your mindset away from perfectionism and toward a more balanced, fulfilling approach to life. Remember, this is not a one-time effort, but an ongoing practice that requires self-awareness and intentional change. By embracing imperfection, you open the door to greater creativity, resilience, and joy. Ultimately, overcoming perfectionism is about accepting that you are already enough, just as you are. Embrace the journey of growth, knowing that true fulfillment comes from progress, not perfection. Number 5. Procrastination. In the fast-paced environment of today, procrastination is a common struggle that many face. While taking a break or delaying a task may sometimes seem harmless, procrastination can silently undermine productivity, increase stress, and prevent the achievement of goals. Effectively managing procrastination is crucial for building a disciplined, purposeful life. This process involves identifying the causes of procrastination, understanding its impact, and implementing strategies to foster action and accountability. Picture this. You have an important project due soon, but instead of diving into it, you find yourself scrolling through social media, watching videos, or cleaning the house. Each time you think about starting the project, anxiety creeps in, and you convince yourself to delay just a bit longer. Hours turn into days, and the looming deadline feels like an ever-growing shadow, creating more stress and pressure. This is the silent cost of procrastination. Despite having time, energy, and resources, the constant delay leads to missed opportunities and unnecessary anxiety. Many people find themselves in this cycle, constantly postponing important tasks and feeling guilty afterward. Procrastination is often driven by fear of failure, perfectionism, or even a lack of clear goals. Addressing procrastination isn't merely about time management. It's about understanding the root causes and cultivating a mindset that promotes action, resilience, and growth. Several years ago, I found myself stuck in a pattern of procrastination that was affecting both my personal and professional life. I would often delay tasks, telling myself that I worked better under pressure. However, this habit led to increased stress, missed deadlines, and a sense of constant frustration. I felt trapped in a cycle where my procrastination was holding me back from reaching my full potential. One day, after missing yet another deadline, I realized that I needed to confront my habit of procrastination. I recognized that it was more than just a bad habit. It was a barrier to my growth and well-being. I needed to understand why I was procrastinating and find ways to break free from its grip. Determined to overcome procrastination, I began by examining the reasons behind my behavior. I discovered that I often procrastinated because I felt overwhelmed by the magnitude of the tasks or feared that I would not meet my own high standards. I was avoiding discomfort by distracting myself with less important activities, believing that I would have more time or motivation later. Inspired by traditional wisdom, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. I decided to take a more intentional approach to my tasks. I realized that the first step to overcoming procrastination was to acknowledge my feelings of discomfort and commit to action, regardless of how I felt in the moment. I reminded myself that progress comes from consistent effort, not just from fleeting bursts of motivation. I also turned to biblical wisdom for guidance. Proverbs 6:6-8 says, "Go to the ant, you sluggard. Consider its ways and be wise. It has no commander, no overseer or ruler, yet it stores its provisions in summer and gathers its food at harvest." This passage reminded me of the importance of diligence and preparation. I resolved to adopt a proactive mindset, like the ant, working steadily and with purpose, rather than waiting for the perfect moment to act. To break the cycle of procrastination, I started setting small, manageable goals instead of focusing on the overwhelming end result. I broke tasks into smaller steps and celebrated each small victory along the way. I made a conscious effort to begin my day with the most challenging tasks, which helped build momentum and reduce the temptation to delay. Overcoming procrastination was not an easy journey. There were days when I felt tempted to revert to old habits, but I reminded myself of the importance of consistency and progress. I learned to practice self-compassion, understanding that it was okay to have setbacks, but the key was to keep moving forward. In practical terms, overcoming procrastination involves several key steps. Start by identifying the root causes of your procrastination. Are you avoiding a task because it feels overwhelming, or do you fear failure? Understanding the why behind your procrastination can help you address it more effectively. Set clear, achievable goals and break tasks into smaller steps to make them more manageable. Create a schedule or to-do list that prioritizes these tasks and hold yourself accountable to it. Limit distractions by creating a focused work environment and using techniques like the Pomodoro method to maintain concentration and productivity. Practice self-compassion and forgive yourself for past procrastination. Instead of dwelling on what you haven't done, focus on what you can do right now. Regularly reflect on your progress and celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. Seek support from friends, mentors, or accountability partners who can encourage you and help you stay on track. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift your mindset from procrastination to purposeful action. Remember, overcoming procrastination is not a one-time effort, but an ongoing practice that requires self-awareness, commitment, and resilience. By choosing to act with intention, you can cultivate a more productive, fulfilling life. Ultimately, overcoming procrastination is about understanding that every small step forward is progress, and progress, not perfection, is the goal. Embrace the journey of growth, knowing that each action, no matter how small, moves you closer to your goals and aspirations. Number 6. Comparing yourself to others. In an age dominated by social media and constant connectivity, comparing ourselves to others has become almost instinctual. While it's natural to notice how we stack up against those around us, this habit can quickly become destructive, leading to feelings of inadequacy, envy, and a loss of self-worth. Learning to manage and eventually overcome the tendency to compare ourselves to others is essential for cultivating self-confidence, inner peace, and a more fulfilling life. This process involves recognizing the triggers of comparison, understanding its negative impact, and shifting our focus toward personal growth and gratitude. Imagine scrolling through your social media feed and seeing friends, colleagues, or even strangers celebrating successes, new jobs, perfect vacations, or personal achievements. A subtle feeling of discomfort creeps in. You start questioning your own life choices, wondering why you're not achieving similar milestones. This mental spiral begins to overshadow your contentment, leaving you with a sense of inadequacy and dissatisfaction. This is the silent cost of comparison. Despite having your own unique journey, you feel diminished by the perceived successes of others. Many people find themselves in this cycle, constantly measuring their lives against curated images and selective narratives. Comparing ourselves to others often leads to self-doubt, anxiety, and a lack of appreciation for our own unique path. Addressing this tendency isn't about ignoring others' accomplishments, but about embracing our own progress, celebrating our uniqueness, and finding joy in our personal journey. A few years ago, I found myself caught in the comparison trap. I would often look at my peers' achievements and wonder why I wasn't as accomplished or successful in certain areas. I felt a nagging sense of inferiority that made it difficult to appreciate my own progress and blessings. The more I compared myself to others, the more I felt disconnected from my own goals and values. One day, after feeling particularly down after yet another round of comparing myself to others, I realized that I needed to change my perspective. I understood that constantly measuring myself against others was robbing me of the joy of my own journey. I decided to confront this habit head-on and shift my focus inward. Determined to overcome the habit of comparison, I started by recognizing my triggers. I noticed that I felt the most inadequate when I was scrolling through social media or listening to others' success stories. I realized that these feelings stemmed from my own insecurities and a fear of not being enough. I reminded myself that everyone's journey is different and that comparison was distracting me from my own path. Inspired by traditional wisdom, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. I decided to take control of my thought patterns. I focused on gratitude for my own achievements, no matter how small, and celebrated the progress I was making in my own unique way. I reminded myself that true fulfillment comes not from outshining others, but from embracing my own growth and purpose. I also turned to biblical wisdom for strength. Galatians 6:4-5 states, "Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone, without comparing themselves to someone else, for each one should carry their own load." This verse reminded me that my value is not defined by how I measure up to others, but by being faithful to my unique calling and purpose. I resolved to focus on my own journey, trusting that I was exactly where I needed to be. To further break free from the comparison trap, I began setting personal goals that aligned with my values and aspirations, rather than those influenced by others' achievements. I created a habit of regularly reflecting on my progress, identifying areas of growth, and celebrating my own milestones. I practiced gratitude daily, focusing on the blessings in my life and the lessons learned along the way. The journey to overcoming comparison was not easy. There were times when I found myself slipping back into old habits, feeling envious or inadequate when I saw others' successes. But each time, I reminded myself of the importance of focusing on my own path and finding joy in my progress. I learned to view others' successes as inspiration rather than competition, and to celebrate their achievements without questioning my own worth. In practical terms, overcoming the tendency to compare yourself to others involves several key steps. Start by identifying the triggers that lead you to compare, whether it's certain social media platforms, conversations, or specific situations. Limit your exposure to these triggers, if necessary, to reduce their impact. Cultivate a mindset of gratitude by regularly reflecting on your own progress and achievements. Keep a journal where you note things you're grateful for each day, focusing on what makes your journey unique. Practice self-compassion, acknowledging that everyone has their own struggles and challenges that aren't always visible. Shift your focus from competition to inspiration. Instead of feeling envious of others, learn from their journeys and apply those lessons to your own life. Seek support from friends, mentors, or faith communities who can help you stay grounded and remind you of your worth and purpose. By applying these principles, you can gradually break free from the trap of comparison and cultivate a more peaceful, purposeful life. Remember, overcoming comparison is not about ignoring others, but about embracing your own unique journey and celebrating your progress along the way. Ultimately, overcoming comparison is about recognizing that you are enough just as you are.
Embrace your path, knowing that true fulfillment comes from growth, not from measuring up to others. Each step you take on your journey is a step toward becoming the person you are meant to be.
Number 7. Excessive social media use. In a world where technology is intertwined with our daily lives, excessive social media use has become an all-too-common struggle. While social media offers a means to connect with friends, stay informed and explore new ideas, it can also lead to distractions, time wasting, and a lack of genuine fulfillment. Effectively managing social media use is crucial for fostering a balanced, purposeful life. This process involves recognizing the reasons behind our digital habits, understanding their impact on our well-being, and adopting healthier practices that prioritize real-life connections and productivity. Consider this scenario. You pick up your phone to check a notification, and before you know it, you've spent an hour scrolling through your social media feed, mindlessly tapping through stories, posts, and videos. You tell yourself, just one more scroll, but the endless stream of content keeps you hooked. Eventually, you realize you've lost precious time that could have been spent on more meaningful activities, reading, learning, or simply being present with loved ones. This is the hidden cost of excessive social media use, a distraction that subtly consumes time, energy, and focus, leaving us feeling empty and unproductive. Many people find themselves trapped in this cycle, reaching for their phones habitually throughout the day, often out of boredom or as a way to escape discomfort. Excessive social media use can negatively affect mental health, increase anxiety, and diminish our ability to be present. Addressing this issue isn't about completely disconnecting from social media. It's about cultivating a balanced approach that allows for genuine connection without letting it dominate our lives. I too found myself caught in the grip of excessive social media use. At first it seemed harmless, a few minutes here and there to catch up on friends' updates or check the latest news. But over time, those minutes turned into hours, and I realized how much of my day was being consumed by aimless scrolling. My productivity suffered, and I found myself increasingly distracted, unable to fully engage in the tasks or people in front of me. I knew something needed to change. Determined to reclaim control over my time and focus, I began by reflecting on why I was spending so much time on social media. I noticed that I often turned to my phone when I felt bored, anxious, or uncertain. It became a way to fill a void or avoid confronting my own thoughts. I realized that social media had become a habit, and I needed to break free from its hold. Inspired by the philosophical wisdom, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. I decided to confront my fear of missing out and focus on what truly mattered. I reminded myself that every moment spent on social media was a moment I could never get back. Time that could have been invested in personal growth, meaningful connections, or spiritual reflection. I committed to making intentional choices about how I spent my time. Turning to biblical wisdom, I found guidance in Psalm 90, verse 12. Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. This verse reminded me of the finite nature of time and the importance of using it wisely. I resolved to be more mindful of my social media habits and to set clear boundaries that would allow me to live more intentionally. To reduce my social media use, I set specific limits on my daily screen time and removed apps from my phone that were the biggest distractions. I designated certain times of the day for checking social media, rather than allowing it to interrupt my focus whenever a notification appeared. I replaced mindless scrolling with activities that brought me joy and fulfillment, such as reading, exercising, or spending time with loved ones. The journey to overcoming excessive social media use wasn't easy. There were times when I felt tempted to pick up my phone out of habit, but I reminded myself of the value of real-life experiences and meaningful engagement. I learned to be more present, appreciating the world around me rather than constantly seeking validation or entertainment online. In practical terms, managing excessive social media use involves several key steps. Start by identifying the triggers that prompt you to reach for your phone. Is it boredom, anxiety, or the need for social validation? Once you understand these triggers, you can begin to address them with healthier alternatives. Set clear boundaries for your social media use. This might include specific time limits, turning off non-essential notifications, or setting aside phone-free times during the day. Use tools and apps that help track your screen time and hold yourself accountable to your goals. Replace social media habits with more fulfilling activities. Engage in hobbies, connect with people in person, or practice mindfulness and reflection. Remind yourself regularly of the reasons you want to reduce your screen time and the benefits of living more intentionally. Seek support from friends, family, or accountability partners who understand your goals and can encourage you along the way. Practice self-compassion, recognizing that it's okay to slip up occasionally, but the key is to keep moving forward. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift from excessive social media use to a more balanced digital life. Remember, the goal isn't to eliminate social media altogether, but to use it in a way that adds value to your life, rather than detracts from it. Ultimately, overcoming excessive social media use is about recognizing that your time is a precious resource. Embrace each moment, knowing that true fulfillment comes from living fully in the present, nurturing real connections, and focusing on what truly matters. Every step you take toward mindful social media use is a step toward a more purposeful and enriched life. Number 8. Unhealthy lifestyle choices. In today's fast-paced world, unhealthy lifestyle choices have become a common challenge for many. Whether it's poor eating habits, lack of exercise, or inadequate sleep, these choices can lead to long-term health problems, decreased energy, and a diminished sense of well-being. To live a truly balanced and fulfilling life, it is crucial to recognize the patterns of these habits, understand their impact on both the body and mind, and adopt healthier alternatives that foster overall wellness. Consider this scenario. You intend to eat a healthy meal, but a busy day leaves you opting for fast food instead. Or perhaps you plan to exercise, but the lure of the couch and a TV show proves too tempting. Over time, these small choices add up, contributing to weight gain, fatigue, and an increased risk of health issues. It's easy to rationalize these decisions in the moment, but they carry hidden costs, impacting our physical health, emotional balance, and ability to live life fully. Many people find themselves in this cycle, often due to stress, lack of time, or simply because these habits feel convenient or comforting. Yet, unhealthy lifestyle choices can negatively affect both physical and mental health, increasing the risk of chronic diseases and decreasing quality of life. Addressing this issue doesn't require a drastic overhaul of one's routine. Instead, it involves cultivating a balanced approach that incorporates small, sustainable changes for long-term well-being. I, too, found myself trapped in this cycle. There was a time when convenience was my priority, opting for quick meals, skipping workouts, and ignoring the importance of sleep. At first, these choices seemed harmless, but gradually I noticed a decline in my energy levels, weight gain, and an overall sense of imbalance in my life. I realized that I needed to make changes, not just for my physical health but for my emotional and mental well-being as well. Determined to regain control over my health, I began by reflecting on why I was making these choices. I discovered that stress and the desire for instant comfort were often the culprits. I recognized that these habits had become ingrained over time, and if I wanted to change, I needed to start by understanding the root causes and finding healthier ways to cope with stress and fatigue. Inspired by an insightful thinker who said, "We are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them," I decided to change my perspective on what truly brings comfort and satisfaction. I reminded myself that every unhealthy choice was taking me further away from my goals of vitality and well-being. I committed to making more intentional choices that aligned with the life I wanted to live. Turning to biblical guidance, I found strength in 1 Corinthians 6:19-20, which reminds us, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit, who is in you, whom you have received from God? You are not your own. You were bought at a price. Therefore, honor God with your bodies." This verse inspired me to view my health as a form of stewardship, emphasizing the importance of caring for the body as a precious gift. To overcome my unhealthy lifestyle choices, I set realistic goals that were sustainable in the long term. I began by planning balanced meals and making time for regular physical activity, even if it was just a short walk each day. I established a bedtime routine to ensure I got enough sleep, recognizing that rest was as important as diet and exercise in maintaining overall health. The journey to making healthier lifestyle choices was not easy. There were times I slipped back into old habits, but I reminded myself that change is a process, not a destination. I learned to celebrate small victories, like choosing a salad over a snack or going for a jog instead of watching another episode on TV. I also learned to forgive myself for mistakes, recognizing that persistence and consistency are key to lasting change. In practical terms, overcoming unhealthy lifestyle choices involves several steps. Begin by identifying the specific habits that need changing. Understand the triggers, stress, boredom, or convenience that lead to these choices. Once you identify the root causes, you can develop healthier alternatives to address them. Set clear, achievable goals for your health. This could involve meal planning, scheduling regular exercise, or setting a consistent sleep routine. Use tools like fitness trackers or meal planners to stay accountable to your goals. Replace unhealthy habits with positive ones that contribute to your well-being. Choose activities that you enjoy and that promote health, such as cooking a healthy meal, engaging in a physical activity you love, or practicing relaxation techniques like meditation or prayer. Seek support from others, friends, family, or a community group who share your commitment to a healthier lifestyle. Remember, having a support system can provide encouragement and accountability. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift from unhealthy choices to a balanced, healthier life. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, but progress, making small, consistent changes that lead to lasting improvement. Ultimately, overcoming unhealthy lifestyle choices is about valuing your health as a gift and recognizing the impact of every choice you make. Embrace each day with intention, knowing that each healthy choice brings you closer to a life of vitality, purpose, and joy. Every step you take towards better health is a step towards a more fulfilled and meaningful life. Number 9. Neglecting personal growth. In our busy lives, the pursuit of personal growth can often take a backseat to immediate responsibilities, distractions, or routines. Yet, neglecting personal growth can lead to stagnation, a lack of fulfillment, and missed opportunities for development in our skills, talents, and character. Committing to personal growth means recognizing its importance, understanding the areas that need attention, and actively seeking ways to expand our potential. Imagine this scenario. You have a desire to learn a new skill or develop a hobby, but each day you find yourself occupied with work, family duties, or simply the comfort of sticking to the familiar. Days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, and soon you realize that you haven't made any progress toward your goals. This inaction comes with a hidden cost, keeping you from becoming the best version of yourself, missing the joy of new experiences and the satisfaction of achieving personal milestones. Many people find themselves caught in this cycle, often due to fear of failure, a lack of motivation, or simply not knowing where to start. Neglecting personal growth can limit our potential and reduce our overall sense of purpose. The key to overcoming this neglect isn't about making drastic changes overnight. It's about making a conscious decision to prioritize growth in small, consistent ways. A few years ago, I found myself in this very situation. Life's demands had left me feeling stuck in a routine,
and I realized that I was not making time for activities that nurtured my growth. I felt unfulfilled and uncertain about the future. It was clear that if I wanted to lead a more meaningful and purpose-driven life, I needed to commit to my personal development.
Determined to break free from stagnation, I began by reflecting on what was holding me back. I discovered that fear of failure, fear of the unknown, and even fear of change, was often at the root of my hesitation to try new things or step out of my comfort zone. I realized that my growth required not only the desire to change, but the courage to take action. Inspired by an insightful thinker who wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way," I decided to confront my fears directly. I reminded myself that each obstacle was an opportunity to grow, and each challenge was a chance to become better. I committed to viewing setbacks as lessons and using them as stepping stones on my journey of personal growth. Turning to biblical wisdom, I found guidance in Proverbs 1:5, which states, "Let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance." This verse reminded me of the importance of continuous learning and seeking wisdom. I understood that personal growth was not just a journey, but also a lifelong pursuit, requiring openness, humility, and the willingness to learn from every experience. To prioritize my personal growth, I set specific goals for myself. I started small, dedicating time each week to activities that stretched my abilities, whether reading books, taking online courses, or practicing new skills. I made it a habit to seek feedback and learn from those around me, recognizing that growth often comes from learning from others. The journey of personal growth was not without its challenges. There were moments of self-doubt, times when I wanted to give up, and days when progress felt slow. But I reminded myself that growth is a process, not a destination. I celebrated small achievements, stayed patient with myself, and remained focused on the bigger picture of who I wanted to become. In practical terms, overcoming the neglect of personal growth involves several steps. Start by identifying the areas of your life where you desire growth. Reflect on what's holding you back: fear, complacency, or a lack of direction. Once you understand these barriers, you can begin to address them with intentional actions. Set clear and achievable goals for your growth journey. This could involve learning a new skill, developing a hobby, or setting personal development targets. Break these goals down into manageable steps and track your progress regularly. Replace habits that stagnate your growth with those that promote it. Incorporate activities that challenge your mind, body, or spirit. Surround yourself with people who inspire and motivate you to strive for more. Seek guidance and mentorship from others who have walked the path you aspire to follow. Their experiences can provide valuable insights and encouragement on your journey. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift from neglecting personal growth to embracing a lifestyle of continuous development. Remember, the goal isn't to achieve perfection overnight, but to commit to steady progress, knowing that each step you take brings you closer to your fullest potential. Ultimately, overcoming the neglect of personal growth is about understanding that your growth is a personal responsibility and a powerful choice. Embrace every moment with the intent to learn, evolve, and become a better version of yourself. Each day offers a new opportunity to grow, and every small step you take is a step toward a more enriched, purposeful, and fulfilling life. Number 10. Living in the past or future. In a world that often demands our attention and planning, it's easy to find ourselves either dwelling on past events or anxiously anticipating the future. Whether it's lingering regrets or relentless planning for what's to come, focusing too much on either can detract from living fully in the present moment. To lead a balanced and fulfilling life, it's essential to address these tendencies, understand their impact on our well-being, and adopt practices that help us embrace the now. Consider this scenario. You replay past mistakes or missed opportunities in your mind, unable to let go and move forward. Alternatively, you may spend so much time planning for future goals that you miss out on enjoying the present. Over time, these patterns can lead to increased stress, dissatisfaction, and a sense of disconnection from the life you're currently living. This preoccupation with the past or future can obscure the richness and beauty of the present moment, leaving you feeling unfulfilled. Many people struggle with this issue, often due to unresolved issues, fear of uncertainty, or the pressure of planning for future success. Yet, living too much in the past or future can hinder personal growth and reduce our ability to appreciate the present. Addressing this challenge doesn't require an overhaul of one's life, but involves making conscious choices to cultivate mindfulness and presence in everyday moments. I, too, have faced this struggle. There was a time when I was deeply affected by past experiences, constantly revisiting old mistakes and regrets. At the same time, I was often consumed with future plans and anxieties, losing sight of the present. It became clear that my focus on what had been or what might be was preventing me from fully experiencing and enjoying the now. Determined to shift my perspective, I began by reflecting on how these preoccupations were affecting my life. I realized that dwelling on the past or worrying about the future was often rooted in fear of failure, regret, or uncertainty. I recognized that if I wanted to live a more fulfilling life, I needed to embrace the present moment and let go of what I could not change or control. Inspired by an insightful thinker who wrote, "The present moment is all we have," I decided to focus on making the most of the here and now. I reminded myself that while I could learn from the past and plan for the future, my true power lay in how I chose to live each present moment. I committed to being more mindful and intentional in my daily life. Turning to biblical guidance, I found strength in Matthew 6:34, which says, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own." This verse reminded me of the importance of focusing on today, trusting that God would handle what lies ahead. It encouraged me to release anxieties about the future and find peace in the present. To overcome my tendency to live in the past or future, I set practical goals to anchor myself in the present. I began by practicing mindfulness techniques, such as meditation and deep breathing, to help me stay grounded in the moment. I made a habit of expressing gratitude for the present and finding joy in simple experiences, like a meaningful conversation or a beautiful sunset. The journey to living more fully in the present was not without its challenges. There were times when past regrets or future concerns would resurface, but I learned to gently redirect my focus back to the now. I celebrated small victories, like completing a task without distraction or fully engaging in a current experience. In practical terms, overcoming the habit of living in the past or future involves several steps. Start by identifying the areas where you tend to dwell too much, whether it's unresolved past issues or future anxieties. Recognize the impact these preoccupations have on your current life and well-being. Set clear, actionable goals to bring yourself back to the present. This might include mindfulness practices, such as journaling or meditation, that help you stay focused on the here and now. Use tools like reminders or daily affirmations to keep your attention on present experiences and goals. Replace habits that pull you away from the present with activities that promote engagement in the now. Engage in hobbies, spend quality time with loved ones, or practice mindfulness techniques that anchor you to the present moment. Seek support from friends, family, or a mental health professional who can offer guidance and encouragement in staying present. Remember, it's okay to seek help and share your journey with others who can support your efforts. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift from living in the past or future to embracing the present moment. Remember, the goal is not to ignore the past or future, but to find balance, allowing each moment to be fully experienced and appreciated. Ultimately, overcoming the tendency to live in the past or future is about recognizing the value of the present moment and making a conscious effort to engage with it. Embrace each day with intention, knowing that each moment offers an opportunity for growth, joy, and fulfillment. Every step you take towards living in the present is a step towards a more enriched and meaningful life. Number 11. Avoiding necessary challenges. In a world where comfort and convenience are often prioritized, avoiding necessary challenges can become a tempting way to sidestep discomfort and uncertainty. Whether it's procrastinating on important tasks, evading difficult conversations, or shunning opportunities for personal growth, these avoidance behaviors can limit our potential and hinder progress. To live a truly fulfilling and successful life, it's crucial to confront these tendencies, understand their impact, and develop strategies to embrace and overcome challenges. Consider this scenario. You have an important project at work that requires significant effort and focus, but instead of tackling it head-on, you delay and focus on less critical tasks. Or perhaps you avoid addressing a conflict in a relationship, hoping it will resolve itself. Over time, these avoidance tactics can lead to missed opportunities, increased stress, and a sense of unfulfilled potential. This pattern of avoiding necessary challenges can prevent personal and professional growth, leaving you feeling stagnant and unaccomplished. Many people find themselves in this cycle, often due to fear of failure, discomfort, or the perceived difficulty of the challenge. Yet, avoiding necessary challenges can limit our growth and reduce our ability to achieve our goals. Addressing this issue doesn't require an overhaul of one's approach to life, but involves making intentional choices to face and overcome challenges constructively. I too have experienced this tendency. There was a time when I would avoid difficult tasks and confrontations, opting for what felt comfortable and familiar instead. While this approach seemed to offer temporary relief, it gradually became clear that it was holding me back from achieving my full potential and resolving underlying issues. Determined to shift my approach, I began by reflecting on why I was avoiding these challenges. I realized that fear of failure and discomfort were often at the root of my avoidance. I recognized that if I wanted to grow and succeed, I needed to face these challenges rather than run from them. Inspired by the traditional wisdom, difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. I decided to change my perspective on challenges. I reminded myself that facing and overcoming difficulties was a crucial part of personal growth and success. I committed to embracing challenges as opportunities for development rather than obstacles to be avoided. Turning to biblical guidance, I found encouragement in James 1:2-4, which states, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." This verse reinforced the value of facing challenges with a positive attitude, recognizing that trials contribute to our growth and strength. To overcome my tendency to avoid necessary challenges, I set practical goals to confront and address them proactively. I began by breaking down large tasks into smaller, manageable steps, making them less daunting and more achievable. I also developed a plan to tackle difficult conversations and situations head-on, recognizing the importance of addressing issues promptly. The journey to embracing challenges was not without its difficulties. There were times when fear or discomfort would resurface, but I learned to approach these challenges with courage and persistence. I celebrated small victories, such as completing a difficult task or successfully addressing a conflict, and used these successes as motivation to continue facing challenges. In practical terms, overcoming the habit of avoiding necessary challenges involves several steps. Start by identifying the specific challenges you tend to avoid and understand the reasons behind this avoidance. Recognize the impact these behaviors have on your personal and professional growth. Set clear, actionable goals to confront and address these challenges. This might include creating a plan to break down tasks, preparing for difficult conversations, or seeking support and resources to help you tackle obstacles. Replace avoidance behaviors with proactive strategies that encourage facing challenges. Develop a mindset that views difficulties as opportunities for growth and success, and use tools like goal setting or accountability partners to stay on track. Seek support from friends, mentors, or a coach who can offer guidance and encouragement as you confront challenges. Remember, having a support system can provide valuable perspective and motivation. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift from avoiding necessary challenges to embracing and overcoming them. Remember, the goal is not to avoid difficulties, but to approach them with confidence and determination, recognizing their role in your growth and success. Ultimately, overcoming the tendency to avoid necessary challenges is about valuing the process of growth and development. Embrace each challenge as an opportunity to strengthen yourself and advance toward your goals. Every step you take towards facing and overcoming challenges is a step towards a more accomplished and fulfilling life. Number 12. Ignoring mental health. In a world that often prioritizes external achievements and material success, mental health can sometimes take a back seat. Whether it's neglecting emotional well-being, disregarding stress, or avoiding mental health issues, ignoring these aspects can significantly impact overall quality of life. To lead a balanced and fulfilling life, it's crucial to recognize the importance of mental health, understand its impact on our well-being, and develop practices that promote emotional and psychological resilience. Consider this scenario. You might push through stress and anxiety to meet work deadlines, dismiss feelings of burnout as just part of the job, or avoid seeking help for mental health struggles due to stigma or lack of time. Over time, this neglect can lead to heightened stress, emotional exhaustion, and a diminished sense of well-being. Ignoring mental health can prevent you from achieving a true sense of balance and fulfillment in life. Many people find themselves in this pattern, often due to societal pressures, personal expectations, or simply the busyness of life. Yet, neglecting mental health can undermine our ability to cope with stress, maintain relationships, and pursue personal goals. Addressing this issue doesn't require a complete overhaul of one's life, but involves making conscious decisions to prioritize and nurture mental well-being. I, too, have faced this challenge. There was a period when I prioritized external accomplishments over my emotional and mental health, believing that pushing through stress and ignoring my feelings was a sign of strength. While this approach seemed effective in the short term, it became clear that it was unsustainable and detrimental to my overall well-being. Determined to make a change, I began by acknowledging the impact that ignoring mental health was having on my life. I realized that mental health issues were not just minor inconveniences, but critical aspects of overall wellness. I recognized the need to address these issues proactively rather than dismiss them. Inspired by an insightful thinker who said, "It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of those things," I decided to change my perspective on mental health. I reminded myself that taking care of my emotional well-being was not a weakness, but a necessary component of living a balanced and fulfilling life. I committed to incorporating practices that supported my mental health. Turning to biblical guidance, I found comfort in Philippians 4:6-7, which says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This verse encouraged me to seek support through prayer and to trust in God's peace, emphasizing the importance of addressing anxiety and stress. To address my tendency to ignore mental health, I set practical goals to prioritize my emotional well-being. I began by establishing routines that included regular self-care practices, such as mindfulness, exercise, and sufficient rest. I also made a point to seek support from friends, family, or mental health professionals when needed, recognizing that asking for help was a sign of strength, not weakness. The journey to prioritizing mental health was not without its hurdles. There were times when stress and anxiety would resurface, but I learned to approach these challenges with self-compassion and resilience. I celebrated small victories, like successfully managing stress or improving my emotional state, and used these successes as motivation to continue caring for my mental health. In practical terms, overcoming the habit of ignoring mental health involves several steps. Start by identifying signs that your mental health might be suffering and understand the impact this neglect has on your overall well-being. Recognize the importance of addressing these issues and make mental health a priority. Set clear, actionable goals to support your mental well-being. This might include incorporating regular self-care practices, seeking professional help when needed, or developing coping strategies for managing stress and emotions. Replace neglectful habits with proactive strategies that promote mental health. Engage in activities that support emotional well-being, such as mindfulness, exercise, or social connections. Use tools like mental health apps or support groups to stay on track. Seek support from friends, family, or mental health professionals who can offer guidance and encouragement as you prioritize your mental health. Remember, having a support system can provide valuable perspective and support. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift from neglecting mental health to actively nurturing and prioritizing it. Remember, the goal is not to achieve perfection, but to create a balanced approach that supports your emotional and psychological well-being. Ultimately, overcoming the tendency to ignore mental health is about valuing your emotional and psychological well-being as integral to a fulfilling life. Embrace each day with mindfulness and self-care, knowing that every step you take towards addressing mental health contributes to a more balanced and enriched life. Number 13. Unhealthy work-life balance. In a fast-paced world where career demands and professional ambitions often take precedence, achieving a healthy work-life balance can be challenging. When work consistently overshadows personal time and relationships, it can lead to stress, burnout, and dissatisfaction. To cultivate a fulfilling and balanced life, it's essential to recognize the signs of an unhealthy work-life balance, understand its impact, and implement strategies that promote harmony between professional and personal spheres. Consider this scenario. You may find yourself consistently working late hours, missing family events, or neglecting personal interests due to work commitments. Over time, this imbalance can lead to exhaustion, strained relationships, and a diminished sense of personal fulfillment. An unhealthy work-life balance can prevent you from enjoying the full range of life's experiences and achieving a sense of overall well-being. Many people struggle with this issue, often due to workplace pressures, career goals, or a desire to meet high expectations. Yet, allowing work to dominate personal life can undermine mental health and personal relationships. Addressing this challenge doesn't require a complete overhaul of your professional life, but involves making intentional choices to create a more balanced and fulfilling lifestyle. I too have experienced this struggle. There was a time when my career demands consumed so much of my time and energy that my personal life and well-being took a back seat. While this focus on work seemed necessary and productive, it eventually became clear that it was harming my overall quality of life. Determined to find a better balance, I began by assessing how my work commitments were impacting my personal life. I recognized that maintaining a healthy balance was essential not only for my well-being, but also for my productivity and satisfaction in both areas. Inspired by the insightful thinker who said, "It is not that we spend 5 days at work and then have 2 days off. It is that most people are so consumed by their work that they do not appreciate the time they do have for themselves." I decided to shift my approach. I reminded myself that creating time for personal interests and relationships was vital for a fulfilling life. I committed to setting boundaries and prioritizing personal time. Turning to biblical guidance, I found encouragement in Ecclesiastes 3:1, which states, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." This verse reminded me of the importance of balancing various aspects of life, and finding time for both work and personal fulfillment. To address my unhealthy work-life balance, I set practical goals to create more harmony between work and personal life. I began by establishing clear boundaries, such as setting specific work hours and making time for family, hobbies, and self-care. I also made a point to prioritize activities that brought me joy and relaxation. The journey to achieving a healthy work-life balance was not without its challenges. There were times when work demands would encroach on personal time, but I learned to approach these situations with flexibility and assertiveness. I celebrated small victories, like spending quality time with loved ones or enjoying a personal hobby, and used these successes as motivation to maintain balance. In practical terms, overcoming an unhealthy work-life balance involves several steps. Start by evaluating how your work commitments are affecting your personal life and well-being. Recognize the importance of achieving balance and make it a priority. Set clear, actionable goals to create a healthier work-life balance. This might include establishing work boundaries, scheduling regular personal time, or delegating tasks more effectively. Use tools like time management techniques or productivity apps to help maintain balance. Replace work-centric habits with strategies that promote personal fulfillment. Engage in activities that bring joy and relaxation, such as hobbies, exercise, or spending time with loved ones. Use tools like calendar reminders or family meetings to stay on track. Seek support from mentors, colleagues, or a coach who can offer guidance and encouragement as you strive for a better balance. Remember, having support can provide valuable insights and motivation. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift from an unhealthy work-life balance to a more harmonious and fulfilling lifestyle. Remember, the goal is not to achieve perfection, but to create a balanced approach that supports both professional success and personal well-being. Ultimately, overcoming the tendency toward an unhealthy work-life balance is about valuing both work and personal life as integral to a fulfilling existence. Embrace each day with intention, knowing that every step you take towards balancing work and personal life contributes to a more enriched and satisfying life. Number 14. Overcommitting. In a world that constantly demands more of our time and energy, overcommitting can become a significant challenge. When we take on too many responsibilities, it can lead to stress, burnout, and a sense of being overwhelmed. To lead a balanced and fulfilling life, it's crucial to recognize the signs of overcommitting, understand its impact, and implement strategies that promote effective time management and personal well-being. Consider this scenario. You might find yourself juggling multiple projects, attending numerous meetings, and saying yes to every request that comes your way. Over time, this overcommitment can result in exhaustion, diminished productivity, and strained relationships. Overcommitting can prevent you from focusing on what truly matters and achieving a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment. Many people struggle with overcommitting due to a desire to please others, meet expectations, or achieve ambitious goals. Yet, consistently taking on too much can undermine your ability to perform effectively and maintain your well-being. Addressing this issue doesn't require a complete overhaul of your responsibilities, but involves making intentional choices to prioritize and manage your commitments effectively. I too have faced this challenge. There was a period when I took on numerous projects and commitments, believing that doing more would lead to greater success. While this approach seemed productive initially, it eventually became clear that it was leading to stress and a lack of focus on my core responsibilities. Determined to make a change, I began by assessing how my overcommitment was affecting my productivity and well-being. I realized that managing my commitments more effectively was essential not only for my success, but also for my personal satisfaction and health. Inspired by the traditional wisdom, it is not the things themselves that disturb us, but our interpretation of those things, I decided to shift my approach. I reminded myself that it was important to focus on quality rather than quantity, and to set boundaries that allowed me to manage my commitments more effectively. Turning to biblical guidance, I found encouragement in Matthew 11:28, which says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." This verse reminded me of the importance of seeking rest and balance, emphasizing that it's okay to step back and manage commitments in a way that supports my well-being. To address my tendency to overcommit, I set practical goals to manage my responsibilities more effectively. I began by evaluating my current commitments and prioritizing those that aligned with my core values and goals. I also learned to set clear boundaries and to say no when necessary, recognizing that it was important to protect my time and energy. The journey to overcoming overcommitment was not without its challenges. There were times when it was difficult to say no or to adjust my commitments, but I learned to approach these situations with honesty and assertiveness. I celebrated small victories, such as successfully managing my schedule or reducing my workload, and used these successes as motivation to maintain balance. In practical terms, overcoming overcommitment involves several steps. Start by evaluating how your current commitments are affecting your productivity and well-being. Recognize the importance of managing your responsibilities effectively and make it a priority. Set clear, actionable goals to manage your commitments. This might include prioritizing tasks, delegating responsibilities, or learning to say no to additional requests. Use tools like scheduling apps or productivity techniques to help manage your time effectively. Replace overcommitting habits with strategies that promote balance and focus. Engage in activities that align with your core values and goals, and use tools like to-do lists or time blocking to stay organized. Seek support from mentors, colleagues, or a coach who can offer guidance and encouragement as you manage your commitments. Remember, having support can provide valuable insights and help you maintain a balanced approach. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift from overcommitting to managing your responsibilities in a more balanced and effective way. Remember, the goal is not to do everything, but to focus on what truly matters and to manage your commitments in a way that supports your overall well-being. Ultimately, overcoming the tendency to overcommit is about valuing your time and energy as integral to a fulfilling and balanced life. Embrace each day with intention, knowing that every step you take towards managing your commitments contributes to a more focused and satisfying existence. Number 15. Avoiding self-care. In a world filled with constant demands and responsibilities, self-care often takes a back seat. When we neglect our own well-being in favor of meeting the needs of others or fulfilling obligations, it can lead to burnout, stress, and diminished quality of life. To cultivate a balanced and fulfilling existence, it's essential to recognize the signs of avoiding self-care, understand its impact, and implement strategies that prioritize personal well-being. Consider this scenario. You might find yourself skipping meals, sacrificing sleep, or neglecting relaxation time due to a busy schedule or a focus on helping others. Over time, avoiding self-care can lead to physical exhaustion, emotional depletion, and a reduced sense of overall happiness. Neglecting self-care prevents you from maintaining optimal health and achieving a true sense of balance and fulfillment. Many people struggle with avoiding self-care due to a desire to be productive, meet external expectations, or simply due to a lack of awareness about its importance. Yet, consistently putting oneself last can undermine your ability to perform effectively and enjoy life. Addressing this issue doesn't require a drastic change in your lifestyle, but involves making intentional choices to prioritize and nurture your own well-being. I, too, have experienced this challenge. There was a period when I focused so heavily on responsibilities and the needs of others that I neglected my own health and relaxation. While this approach seemed noble at the time, it eventually became clear that it was unsustainable and detrimental to my overall well-being. Determined to make a change, I began by assessing how neglecting self-care was affecting my health and happiness. I realized that taking care of myself was not a luxury, but a necessity for maintaining balance and effectiveness in all areas of life. Inspired by the traditional wisdom, it is that most people are so consumed by their work that they do not appreciate the time they do have for themselves. I decided to shift my approach. I reminded myself that self-care was essential for a balanced life and committed to integrating self-care practices into my routine. Turning to biblical guidance, I found encouragement in Mark 6:31, which states, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." This verse reminded me of the importance of rest and personal time, emphasizing that taking time for oneself is vital for overall well-being. To address my tendency to avoid self-care, I set practical goals to integrate self-care into my daily life. I began by scheduling regular time for activities that nurtured my physical, emotional, and mental health, such as exercise, hobbies, and relaxation. I also learned to set boundaries and prioritize self-care without guilt. The journey to prioritizing self-care was not without its challenges. There were times when responsibilities threatened to encroach on my self-care time, but I learned to approach these situations with assertiveness and self-compassion. I celebrated small victories, like successfully taking time for relaxation or achieving a healthier routine, and used these successes as motivation to continue prioritizing my well-being. In practical terms, overcoming the habit of avoiding self-care involves several steps. Start by evaluating how neglecting self-care is affecting your health and happiness. Recognize the importance of self-care and make it a priority. Set clear, actionable goals to integrate self-care into your routine. This might include scheduling regular relaxation time, engaging in activities that bring joy, or setting boundaries to protect personal time. Use tools like calendars or reminders to help maintain self-care practices. Replace neglectful habits with proactive strategies that promote well-being. Engage in activities that support your health, such as exercise or mindfulness, and make time for hobbies and relaxation. Use resources like self-care apps or support groups to stay motivated. Seek support from friends, family, or professionals who can offer guidance and encouragement as you prioritize self-care. Remember, having support can provide valuable perspective and motivation. By applying these principles, you can gradually shift from avoiding self-care to actively nurturing your own well-being. Remember, the goal is not to achieve perfection, but to create a balanced approach that supports your overall health and happiness. Ultimately, overcoming the tendency to avoid self-care is about valuing your own well-being as integral to a fulfilling and balanced life. Embrace each day with intention, knowing that every step you take towards prioritizing self-care contributes to a more enriched and satisfying existence. We've reached the end of our discussion on negative habits to avoid, and I sincerely hope these insights have been valuable to you. Remember, your support is crucial to this channel. If this video has been helpful, made you reflect, or provided you with new perspectives, please give it a thumbs up. This will help others discover these important insights. Also, do subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you.